The Sentinel is known to be reliable, fearless, disciplined, consistent, courageous, motivated, and skillful.
So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances.
All these qualities start from the mind. Your mind can be your worst enemy or your most powerful weapon.
The world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
Is this the dagger?
Learn how to achieve greatness and tap into the Sentinel mindset.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everybody. What a wonderful day it is today. We got a very, very special guest. Now, in front of me, I have an extensive bio on our special guest, Nir Maman.
Yes, sir.
Did I say that properly? Perfect. Now, who is Nir? I'm only going to read one paragraph. And I know we should say it makes it sound like I'm a pro and I know what I'm talking about, but there's so much to Nir's life and what he's done and his accomplishments that we're going to unbox it as we go into the discussion of the podcast. But Nir, just to get it started, has a professional background that spans over 20 years of service in the fields of military, special operations, police tactical operations, law enforcement, and high-risk security operations between Israel, Canada, and the USA. I mean, look, that in a nutshell is going to open up a lot of things. We're going to go really, really deep. I've known of you, Nir, through our close protection affiliations and entities. Okay? Let me just tighten that for you.
Yeah, we got a little technical difficulties.
Yeah,
that
already
one's
breaking
breaking
things.
No, that's fine.
It's okay.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Nir's hand is 4 times the average man's hand size. So, yeah. So, I've known of you, like I said, through a lot of people that are in the industry, and your name has come up many, many times. And also, when you really started to kind of, I guess, come in front of my radar, I was talking to Jim Bremner, and you also hold title as director of Canadian Tactical Officers Association.
Managing director.
Yeah,
Managing director. Yeah.
CTOA.
Yeah, and that is just a many, as Mike says, the plethora of the things that you have and possess.
Plethora.
So welcome aboard, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. It's great to be here with you guys.
Yeah,
Thanks, man.
awesome.
So I guess, Nir, maybe what would be good is, why don't you just kind of like summarize just who you are, man? And
let's do it this way.
Yeah.
Imagine we're at some holiday party.
Yeah.
We have some chip and dip, get some veggies, and it's just like, hey, man, who are you?
Yeah.
You know, because there is so much to your life and your experience. It would be great just to hear it from
I
yourself.
appreciate it. So if it's chip and dip at the party, I'm at the wrong party. I'm Israeli. It would be hummus and pita.
There you go, man.
But it's
Yes.
okay. We'll go with it.
Nir, do me a favor, bro. Bring the mic a little closer
Yes,
to you.
of course.
It's probably this way. Scoot it that way. So
Yeah,
that it
there you
kinda
go.
comes
Perfect.
out.
Yeah,
Sorry
yeah.
about that. There we go.
Perfect.
I can hear myself now,
Yeah,
too.
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, hummus and pita.
So yeah, listen, I'm just an average guy with a mohawk, right? I was born in Israel. That's where my life began. At the age of 5, we left Israel. We moved to France for a period of time, about a year, and then from there to Canada. Did most of all my growing up here in Canada, in the Toronto area. After high school, I started my trek back home to Israel for my service. My life at that point, literally, right stepping out of high school, was just about following my ambitions and my passions and my.
And what were they at that time?
I wanted to be a soldier. I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be a security professional. I wanted to be a bodyguard. I wanted to be a martial arts champion. I just wanted to do
And a
all
firefighter
those
on
things.
the side, right?
No, that's these days when I realized the mistake of the last 25 years.
That's hilarious.
That's my opening line to everybody. Comes to me, says, "Hey, my kid wants to be a cop. Give him some advice. Be a firefighter."
Be a fighter, buy real estate on the side.
Exactly. That's right. So that's kind of been my my journey.
Okay, so you land in Israel. You're back now. So to fulfill all of these dreams. Okay.
Yeah. So things started for me actually here in Canada. I actually began my first dip into the pool of the professional world was in close protection before anything.
That's unique.
Yep. Yeah. I started working in, so let me even go back to before we finished high school. I've been in martial arts since I was a toddler. It's been in my family for quite a while, and I took to it like immediately. Started about the age of 4, going on 5. So I already kind of had, that element to my mindset.
And that would be
my
Krav Maga.
frame. Not Krav Maga yet. No.
Okay.
I was too much of a kid to have that, in my life.
Yeah.
I started out the conventional routes, with judo and karate, at the local community centers, and my dad grew up in a martial arts household. He's from Morocco, North Africa, and he's got a very large family. And him and the majority of his siblings were in martial arts growing up in Morocco, into judo and karate.
Amazing.
My dad, like all of his siblings, they left Morocco. The track for them was after school. They'd go to Israel, and many of them stayed there. Many of them moved to France. My dad joined the IDF. He served in the IDF in several capacities, and he was heavily involved in Krav Maga as well, both being trained as a soldier and then became an instructor. So we had a lot of that influence at home, never formal, never really understanding what it was. You have to understand the Moroccan mindset, but we have a running joke as Moroccans about, the beatings, the Krav Maga lessons and martial arts training that we would get at home would always involve our father and a spoon or a belt or a slipper or a you-know-what, right?
Yes. Love you felt.
That's right. Correct.
That's hilarious.
And so there definitely was a lot of that kind of informal training that my brother and I would get from our father. There'd be lessons here and there. When we started, because at that time my younger brother also was in a karate and into the martial arts like I was, and my father came and trained with us as well. And so there'd be a lot of kind of the injection of lessons and his experiences. A lot of his friends, my parents' friends, were also Israelis that followed the same path. They get to a point where they all leave Israel. So even in our community, in our household kind of environment, they had friends who all had the same backgrounds and the same lifestyle. They all came out of the IDF. They all had martial arts, and there was a lot of that culture in our household. I started training again, just the conventional, route. It was karate, judo again at the local community center. When we were here in Toronto, when we landed in Toronto, I was about 6 years old, and it specifically was Edithvale Community Center, Finch, just south of Yonge. I started judo there, later on karate. At the age of 12. I was sent to Israel with my younger brother, for the entire summer, and that's when I discovered Krav Maga formally. So we had a community center in the neighborhood where my family that we were staying with resided, a small town called Azul, and just playing out in the field with the neighborhood kids one day, soccer. We went to the community center to go drink from water fountains. I walked by the main, gymnasium, and there's a bunch of martial arts going on. I'm like, wow, what's this, right? So I stuck around, got my aunt to sign me up, and that's when I started my Krav training.
Amazing. Your brother signed up as well?
No, he was a football player, a brute, a thug. It's that was his thing.
He was driving.
Exactly. So again, at that age, you don't really know what's what, and it's Krav Maga, karate. It's all the same. It's a kick, it's a punch, it's a what have you.
Yeah.
In that same year, 12 years old, I kind of had my biggest life-altering experience for me at that time that really helped me encapsulate and visualize my trajectory in life of what I wanted to do. And so I went to Willowdale Middle School, all in the same neighborhood. It's all like, this is where I grew up. This is all in like the Finch Bathurst kind of square. Right?
I went to Brébeuf, so I know the
Oh,
neighborhood.
very good. Yeah. Familiar with it very well. Right? So my best friend at that time, Damon was his name. And Damon was half Jewish and half Native American. And he had long hair as part of, obviously, his Native American heritage and culture. And we were best friends. I was in grade 6. He was in grade 7. And in grade 8, we had a couple of friendly students who were, when I say these stories these days, I don't mention their names anymore, even though they're on my list. I'll never forget them, right? But I kind of give them the benefit of hoping that they've changed their lives. So I don't want to, kind of tarnish them. But
and by list, you mean Steve Buscemi and Billy Madison at the very end.
I'm not going to comment
with
on
the
that.
lipstick. We're going to cut to that scene right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lovely. So there was a handful of them. Two of them were the predominant leaders of that group. There were a bunch of neo-Nazi skinheads, and I mean it literally, right? From the shaved heads to coming to school with swastikas drawn on their jeans, and they were already on their way at that age, 14 years old, to being expelled from the school system.
Right.
And these guys had very early on honed in on Damon and me, and we became their number one targets. I was a bully magnet since the day we came to Canada. My entire, from kindergarten, it's called like public school, middle school. I put an end to it in high school in grade 10 with another incident, but that was just my thing, right?
Yeah.
But this was really the most like kind of substantial situation.
Now, this
I've
is
had.
at the age of 12.
I was 12 years old.
Okay,
Yes.
how tall are you right now? Just out of curiosity.
Without the mohawk, about 6'3".
Okay,
That's
so
good.
you basically, I'm assuming at the age of 12,
Yes.
were also a tall kid as well.
I was always tall. I was very skinny.
Okay.
It took me a long time and a lot of hard work to put in the frame that I sit at today.
To
Right.
fill out,
But
as
that
they'd say.
wasn't
Yeah.
absolutely right. That definitely wasn't my stature back then. What I was on the outside was a representation of what I was on the inside as well. I wasn't a strong kid. I was emotionally and mentally weak. Grew up in a very difficult household. There's a lot of joking with what we have gone through at home, but a lot of it's the way that all of us are. Our very first indoctrination into the world and how we are outside happens with what the most core and important platform for us is, which is family and home, right?
very
That's
true.
what sets the stage for everything, right? And so I was afraid, didn't have much self-confidence, and that's the way that I looked as well. And so I always had to have somebody to look up to, right? In this particular case, it was my best friend at that time, Damon, and Damon was strong. He was a strong kid, and I always followed his lead. When I was around him, I could. Whatever he decides that we were going to do, if we were going to get into a fight, no problem. The confidence would be there because I have him to follow. So long story short, these guys, they really gave us torment. And it was to the point that police were starting to get involved as well. We had incidents where they started getting kicked out of school, suspended because of things with us, right? And this one particular day, if I remember correctly, both of them, they were suspended from school, but of course they would still hang out there. And we had our school, and then you had this convenience store right next to it, and then we had the bus stop. So we had to pass by the convenience store to get to the bus stop to go in the direction that we would go into. So this one day, Damon and me are standing there at the bus stop waiting for the bus, and then you hear that familiar chimes of the convenience store door open, all the bells, like a cowboy movie, right?
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
we happened to look over, and it was nonstop. There was about 25 to 30 of these guys all coming out of the store, right? So we saw the main guys went to our school, and they were there with all their buddies that day. All these big, massive, scary-looking skinheads.
Right.
And right away, it's like, uh-oh, right? And I think I even asked Damon, okay, well, what do we do? There's no point in running. We can't go back to the school now. Like,
Right.
we're sitting ducks. And they saw us immediately. They converged on us. They closed the distance on us, surrounded us. The main guy, one of them had an issue with Damon. The other one had it out for me. And so they're both sitting there. And Damon is the leader of my two-man gang here. And this guy here, he's the leader of their pack, right? And he is trying to convince Damon to throw down and to fight. And Damon is, really smart kid. And he said, listen, we'll do it no problem, right? You, him, Nir, me, let's get on the bus. We'll go somewhere with just the four of us, and we'll do what we got to do. But
Right.
we're not dumb. We're not going to do this
That's
with
right.
you guys and all your friends. You know where
Yeah.
this is going to go. The whole time that they're having this negotiation, my buddy in front of me, he's kicking me in the leg, right? He's giving me these low kicks and these side kicks, and he's just using me like a punching bag. And I'm just standing there. I'm holding. I remember that day I had a plastic bag with a bunch of work, had my backpack on me. And I'm sitting there getting kicked, right? And it's annoying me. I'm scared beyond. I'm shaking, but I am looking for Damon to call the shot here, right? I'm thinking to myself,
What's the move?
If he goes, I go,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
These guys had enough with the debates. Before I knew it, it was like a sea of skinheads that just engulfed us. A whole bunch of them. I remember grabbed me. Sorry, they grabbed hold of me. They dragged me around this. We had this wooden fence that separated this backyard of this home that was right there in the corner. They dragged me to the driveway of that home. Damon, like I could see him, he just disappeared. Right, like a whole bunch of them grabbed him.
Yeah.
I was around the corner of that fence, not knowing what's going on with him, but I was getting my ass handed to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Taking beatings like there's no tomorrow. I remember holding on my bag and holding on my backpack. What actually kind of saved me was I'm sitting here and I remember all these bodies and I remember these punches raining down on me and I'm half bent, almost bent over.
Yeah.
And through the crowd, my buddy, I see his big red Doc Marten boot just come right through the crowd. It's all slow motion and it just drives right in my solar plexus and it makes me collapse, right? All my air just leaves my body. I collapse right down. And these guys, you got to remember that when you're in a multiple attack scenario, it's
the fact that you said the St. Martin, the Martins,
The Doc
Martens,
Martens.
that was huge
That
for
was
those
the era.
groups.
That was-
Huge
yeah.
for those
And
groups.
that's a signature boot for that crowd.
Yeah.
right?
100%. It's a shame because they're phenomenal boots.
Yeah.
I know.
But
Yeah.
I've never put them on just because of that experience,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But what saved me in that moment in time is that it caused me to collapse, and then these guys kind of collapsed over top, and they couldn't get to me, right? They were all kind of canceling themselves out, and I had an opening right there between a bunch of legs, and I literally crawled right through. My bag, dropped. I had my backpack on me. It was half off. I'm all disheveled, and I start zigzagging through everybody, and I'm bolting. And as I'm running, the crowd that got Damon, they're still working on him there, right?
Oh.
And I remember like even throwing glances. We had, half the school on the other side waiting for the eastbound bus, the other half on our side waiting for the westbound bus. And I'm seeing everybody's like watching, right? And as I'm running, some of them see me running and they're trying to like throw shots at me as I'm running. One guy manages to trip me. I stumble over, my backpack falls off. Get up, I managed to get into the school, the principal's office. And the principal and the vice principal, Mr. Graham, they were obviously on top of this whole situation. They knew what was going on. As soon as I walked into the office, Mr. Graham comes out of his office, sees me, and right away he just blurts out the name of the one particular buddy that had my issue, right?
Yeah.
Didn't have to say anything else. I said, yes. I said, Damon is out there. You got to go save him. So he goes and he calls the police right away, right? Tells me to sit down on the couch. I'm sitting there. I'm disheveled. I'm a complete mess. And I remember that moment, how I felt inside. I mean, it was just, I was nonstop shaking. I was absolutely petrified. And I remember whatever amount of time it was, it felt like forever, but that Toronto police officer walks in through the door of the office. I'm sitting on the couch, the door is right here, and this big leg just steps right beside me, right? I remember looking over, and there's that red stripe, and I'm following it up, and this guy is like, his head is in the clouds. He was this big mammoth, one of these Scottish-Irish type, big mustache and big reflective sunglasses. And Mr. Graham comes out, they have a couple of words, and he comes back to me, and he looks at me, he goes, you all right, son? I go, yes, sir. He goes, go find these bastards that did this to you, right? And I remember right at that second, the entire change inside me, right? Like how safe I felt, right? How empowered I felt.
Yeah.
And we jump in his car. We go driving around the neighborhood. He ends up driving me home. Couldn't find Damon, right? I was like, man, I think this is the last time I ever see my buddy. And that moment, I had a lot of thoughts and emotions that hit me, right? And one of them was, first of all, for myself, I want to stop being a weakling. I wanted to never experience this again.
Powerlessness.
Yeah, 100%. I wanted to be, and I literally told myself, I want to be big, I want to be tall, I want to be strong. I want to be a RoboCop, a Terminator, a commando, everything, right? Martial arts, lean, mean killing machine. That is everything that I have. And then parallel to that as well, I also had this thought of, imagine every single day how many people out there are confronting evil and they feel that same way that I did.
Yeah.
And I want to be the guy that steps in between evil and them and let them feel the way that cop made me feel that day.
As Jean-Claude Stallone Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
Right? That's your new name. Your new name, right?
Yes. So I'll tell you that throughout my professional career,
Wow.
I'll tell you how I know that I've accomplished my goals. Throughout my professional career in different capacities and in different countries, different units and organizations, I have been nicknamed RoboCop. I've been nicknamed Terminator. near the end, it all turned to Buzz Lightyear. All right, so I don't know how I feel about that yet, but that's kind of like what I wanted, and I got the names. All right, so that's I did awesome. It. The funny thing with all this story as well is that literally, so I mean, Damon, we went our separate ways, right? He graduated before I did middle school. Never seen the guy since. It's been, I don't know, well over 30 years. A week ago, him and I connect on Facebook.
No way.
He reaches out to me. Yeah, reaches out to me. And I remember this one night, just last week, I'm sitting at home having a cake with my wife and kids. And he's calling me on Messenger. And I'm looking at the phone. I'm like, get out. My wife knows the story inside now because I've told her, right? And I'm eating cake. I'm with the family. I didn't really want to take the call and have like a kind of a half-dedicated conversation. So I leave it, and then he calls me back. I'm showing this to my wife. She's like, you got to take that call. So I take the call. I go down. We have this awesome little couple minutes of catching up, and I tell him, I go, Damon, you got to understand something. This is so crazy because we haven't seen each other in over 30 years. But, since 2010, I've started my training organization, and Krav Maga is one of my own system of Krav Maga, and I certify instructors all over the world. One of my subjects that I cover in my week-long instructor certification program is surviving multiple attackers.
Absolutely.
And when we get to that topic, I open up with the story of you and me at that bus stop that day, getting our asses handed to us by these 25 neo-Nazis. We couldn't stop laughing, right? It was such an awesome, coming back full circle that way. But anyhow, for me, that day, that moment is when I very, very early on knew the path I wanted to walk. Had no clue how I would get there, had no clue, what it would look like and how to actually make it happen. But that's where a lot of my focus in my training. I've been a martial artist forever. And even at the age of, of 12, maybe about 13, is when I really started to grab hold of my training and really have a lot of focus and really had goals with it. I wanted to compete. I wanted to be really good. And everywhere that I went, even not knowing what the world of survival is, not knowing what you really need to know and how you need to do it, I'm just a kid and every instructor has their opinions, but everywhere that I went, my focus was on, being taught what I actually need to do to survive. That's kind of where my trajectory has been for forever. And so that was the platform that
kind of your origin
allowed me
story
to,
in a way, right?
And you know what the amazing thing about this is that there's something that happens that defines and changes your life completely, to the point where like I give an example. When we hear the story of what happened to you at the age of 12, if it wasn't for that, if you were to take that experience out completely out of your life,
well, that's a good question.
It may have gone a very different path.
Sure.
And I think for us diving into the protectors world and going to all these close protection conferences and seeing what a protector is, and it seems to me almost that you found that protector and it was nurtured into who you are today. Like that's what it comes across to me, is that you something happened, it shook you, it changed everything about you, and it put you on this trajectory path. Because to me, you're someone that I think that it burns so much inside you. If you were to see something helpless, or you would jump right into the fire.
Yeah,
and that's all coming from then.
I think that's I don't know how to really quantify it, and I don't know what with that to me is a tangible that I can actually map back, and I can remember how I felt and what I thought that day and how that cultivated my my steps in life. I come from a military family. I've had a lot of those kind of elements in my life, and I don't know what the biggest influencers were, whether this was my DNA and it would be my calling regardless. I don't know, but one thing that I've been taught consistently in life, everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for the way God has a plan for us. Many times we don't get it in the moment. We think that, hey, this is what I want to do, this is my passion, and then we go try to do it, and the door shuts in our face, and it can't be. This can't be. And we're put on this course that it's like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And then one day it comes full circle, and you're like, thank God it didn't work out for me then, because there's no way that I would have achieved and done things that I've done, and this is where I'm happy, right? Everything happens for a reason. It's all planned out. It's all laid out. You just have to contribute to that, right? I think that our our destiny is written for us, but we have to walk that path. So we have to have that here. We have to have that here.
That's part of the journey, right? Is recognizing, maybe letting go of certain things that you think you're in control of.
Sure.
You know, I mean, that's it. You're powerless in that moment. You literally live through an experience you'll never forget. You can never divorce it from who you are. And think of what's amazing is in that moment, which was pretty deadly. Just look how much life has come from it. Look at how many people have learned. I have a very similar story. I'll spare all the details because I am a storyteller. Nice. But I got beat down by 20 guys in high school outside the front of Bray-Buff. And 20 guys jumped on me. I had a bunch of Snapple bottles smashed on my head. I have no scars on my head for whatever reason. I have no scars. Went to court. I was by myself. My basketball team at the time, they were, I guess, maybe scared. And I remember I found an opening. As you said, they started to cancel themselves out. It seemed weird. Like I've always been very physical. I had an older brother who's a martial artist who beat the crap out of me every day. Okay, sure. I make a joke. I was his rag doll of choice. Okay, like literally, like he'd come home, coffee table would move from the living room, and he'd say, "Mike, come here," and I was like, "Oh, freak," because he was 4 years older than me, so he did anything he wanted with me. Okay, so I could take a beating. That's one thing. And that prepped me, like, I could take it.
Yes.
Just as you said from your father. Yes. I'm sorry, you didn't say that. Sorry. Physical conditioning.
You knew. I said it without saying it.
Physical conditioning. Life gives you physical conditioning.
That's
it's all for a reason.
That's right.
And I remember getting beat down, and it was more the terror of being hurt that was more prominent than actually being hurt. Yes. And I remember I had a clear moment of I'm actually okay, and I could take it. I knew how to take enough hits. And it's just a bunch of, they're literally hitting each other. They're hitting each other. When it's 20 on 1, there's more of them hitting. If they were like, that's right. Come on, guys, line up. Right? If they're, I mean, this is where, listen to your middle school teacher and line up if you want something. Because if they lined up, you could really hurt.
Absolutely.
You could end someone's life that way if there's 20 people taking their time. 100%. You just off of internal bleeding. Okay?
Yes.
So they started to cancel out, and I saw an opening between their legs.
Nice.
Okay? It was the nighttime. They all put their hoods on. I kind of provoked it because it was after a basketball game in high school.
Sure.
I was pretty lippy, and I was really confident, and I was taunting all of them. There was a bunch of guys from the west side, Rexdale guys. They beat the crap out of me. I'm a Scarborough guy. Okay, so, and I remember seeing the opening. I climbed through the opening, and I ran into my school. It's one of the few times I've ran. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a lie. Okay. So I ran into the school, and guess what? When I'm coming in the school, and you're like hyper adrenaline.
Yes.
Like I could feel everything. I felt the temperature in the hallway, like everything. And I was looking for someone because it was a late night game. It was about like 8 p.m. My high school is desolate because there's no one's in high school at 8 p.m. Okay, right? Unless it's the breakfast club. So I go down the hallway, and guess who's there in one of the classrooms, all hiding? This is my basketball team.
Wow.
And they were actually half of them are looking out the window. And
they're
they're speaking and they're calling play by play. Hey, I think there's some of them still around. No, I think they're leaving the property. And I remember the feeling. And true story, I put my fist into the locker, and if anything that I wanted to have and bring out on that grass field, I unleashed it there because otherwise it would be the face of my teammates. I was a violent guy. I have on record punched my teammates. That's a true story. But I remember the feeling of you guys watched. You guys let me go through that, like for real. And I knew enough of the street that one guy just needed a 3/4 inch little knife. Yeah. And I may not be sitting here easily, just, and especially that many, he could have just got me 80 times like nothing. Okay. Absolutely. Right. So that for me is, that was a defining moment for myself of, I thought I would never leave someone. Yep. I'll never leave someone if I saw something like that happen. I can't, because I know what it's like to just be, within inches of your life, supposedly, and people watching. My own teammates, these are my teammates who were watching me. Okay, so
it's a powerful story. It's a powerful moment, and those are. It's funny. I understand everything you're saying 100%, and it's amazing how that etches in you this necessity to protect and to be there for others and to help others. And I don't get that. I just can't. I can't fathom that concept of not helping others. So I get you 100%. It's amazing all the parallels that we have in our unique experiences, but there's so many of the exact same things at a micro level.
A foot difference in height, though. But
So Nir, with all that, the amount of experience, obviously that launched the career that we kind of went over. We're going to continue going a little bit deep into that. But when you look at a lot of people that are looking at getting into the footsteps of maybe close protection or something in law enforcement, whether it be policing or whether it be, anything at all to do where you're helping others. What do you think is, in your opinion, for those that do it well, what is that one thing that you say that they have that gives them that strict guide to say this is the path and you're going to go down this path? Like, what is it?
You know what? Before you answer that, I guess I realized we kind of went on a little rabbit trail.
Yeah.
Because you talked about your martial art.
Sure.
But I don't think anyone, if people aren't familiar with you, and you do have a worldwide reputation in terms of your work and your body of work, maybe speak to the professional career that you've had. Because I think before he answers that,
so people can actually
active attacker, active shooter scenarios that you write in the book for that, and being essentially a chief commander of all these different things in the IDF. And maybe shed some light on what that.
With pleasure. So over the course of the last 25 years, I'll compartmentalize it into the different fields. My military service was in the IDF in Israel. I served in our Special Forces Counterterror Unit. The Counterterror Unit is also the counterterror school. It is the spearhead of everything that governs counterterror warfare for the IDF. It's a very long and difficult qualification course that we go through. Today, when I was in, it was an 18-month qualification course. It's 22 months long now.
Wow.
It's an amazing course because it covers everything under the umbrella of counterterror warfare. So we have a lot of units in Israel, and we have a lot of specialties, from counterinsurgency and guerrilla warfare and counter-guerrilla and counter-terror intervention, which is kind of like our active shooter intervention teams. We have our hostage rescue takeover units. We have field intelligence. You have so much. And in our particular unit, we, as leaders of the subject matter of counterterror warfare, instructors for that subject, we cover everything. We're trained in everything under the sun. So it's a very full course. Very, very difficult. One of the things that makes it super difficult, and I'll put it this way, the qualification courses for all of our units are difficult, okay? Just like they are for the majority of every special unit anywhere in the world. It's the way that it has to be. But they all have kind of their unique attributes and their unique culture and things that they focus on that, give it that very difficult standing. One of the things with our qualification course that makes it so difficult is that we have the most amount of Krav Maga training out of any other unit in the IDF. The Krav Maga training is not, how to kick, punch, disarm a gun, defend a knife, all the fancy stuff that everybody learns out there. The Krav Maga training is, it's how to get punched and get kicked nonstop, and you repeat that over and over and over, and it's getting beat up and beating up, and once in a while, here's how you do a punch, here's how you do a kick, right? In the IDF, it's a very well-oiled machine of this mass production of soldiers. Mandatory service, 18 years old, every boy and girl goes into service. 3 years for boys, 2 years for girls. The process begins in high school. Your last year of high school is when the IDF already starts to get involved with assessing students and educating them. Yep, and educating them on different career choices in the IDF.
So it's a recruitment thrust, if anything.
1,000%, right?
Wow.
You've got this machine. People don't come to the IDF, because they volunteer for service.
We should do that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not
even joining. Yeah, we should just start going into high schools and just be okay. All right.
Build your army.
Yeah.
100%. So, the IDF has, for all intents and purposes, 3 years to make use out of a candidate, right? They want that to be to the fullest capacity. And so they begin identifying, recruits from very early on. You then graduate high school, and you right away begin your draft process. So I don't remember where I was going with that, but let me go back for a second. The Krav Maga training.
You're talking about just the physical conditioning that would make every Israeli father proud.
That's it. So this is this is what I was getting at. Is it's all about the mind, right? This is the most important thing. We have in the IDF 3 years to use a soldier, which means we have between 6 months to almost 2 years to turn that soldier into, number one, from a boy to a man, from a man to a fighter, and a fighter who's not going to fail. We can't fail in Israel, right? It's one thing people have to understand. We're a tiny little dot on the map. The word Israel doesn't fit on our land on the map, right? It's got to go over. The first 3 letters are in the Mediterranean Ocean, okay? And we're surrounded by all these land masses,
Right.
billions of people that literally their mandate is to exterminate us, right?
Yeah.
So we cannot fail. And so the whole thing is, how do you take some kid who just last week, his only concern was having enough hair gel to go to the movie on Friday night, to now, here's an M16,
Right.
you're going to go fight, right? There's a lot that goes into that.
hilarious.
That's
a good short film. That's a good short film right there.
It's really amazing to see that transition happen in people, right?
As you're talking, I'm just getting this like description of if the movie 300, where it shows the kids just basically getting like whipped and punched and all that
in the beginning.
The movie's based on the IDF.
Is it?
No, I'm kidding.
I love it.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. But that's what I'm envisioning. If you have 3 years and you're gonna get that much thrown at you.
Yeah, 100%. So
Wow, this is pretty amazing. Okay, keep going on.
everything. The key to everything is the mindset. It's developing the proper mindset. That's where that transition has to come. You can take a person, build them full of muscle, turn them into a conditioning machine, teach them all the deadly skills. If inside, if their soul, their mind, their heart, their DNA, their visualizations, their internal contracts and dialogue is not strong and doesn't lead, the muscles, the guns, the fists will not help you.
Wow.
And I've seen that more than enough times. Yeah. This is where people crumble.
Take
when
note,
reality
take note,
hits.
ladies. Take note, ladies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's for everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's for everybody. I've seen some
Wow.
women that will,
No, I know. Especially in
put some of
Krav.
these guys
in Krav.
out,
Yeah,
like-
absolutely. I say that as a joke because the women are fiercer. They can be as a whole more driven.
different motivators.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have different motivators. As guys, our whole thing is to impress each other and to
Right.
be the alphas. Right.
Yeah.
With women, that's a bunch of child's play. But the second that you encroach on the home front, on the kids, on the family,
yeah.
geez, man, it's
Yeah.
I'm stepping back.
Right,
You know
right.
what I
So
mean?
true.
Yeah.
That
And
the mama bear DNA is a different thing.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Right. So our training, that's what it's really based on. And for us specifically, so every combat soldier in the IDF, if we're talking about the ground forces, your training always begins as infantry. We're all trained as infantry soldiers. That's 4 months of basic training, 3 months of advanced infantry training. If you're an infantry soldier, then that's it. From there, you got into the field and you serve your 2.5 years. If you're in the any special unit, that's where your special qualification begins. And so we have at that point, so you have tryouts for the units. On average, you have maybe 70 to 100 candidates that will get past the selection, which means that they appear to have the superficial attributes that they look for in a special operator. After basic training, you right away have what's called 2 months of unit basic training. So you take the infantry basic training, that was 4 months. That's like a vacation compared to this 2 months. These 2 months
Wow.
are designed to just weed the weak from the strong. Those who, many times we don't know how strong we can be.
Yeah,
right?
we don't know what we're capable of.
100%.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that with me as well. There's a lot of almost everything I did in life, I had no clue that I would do it or that I'd be able to do it, right? You have to be thrown in there and you got to start to find the motivators inside and around you to get you step by step.
Yeah, it's so good.
And so those 2 months are designed to just take that number of the 70 to 100 candidates and cut it in half. That's it. You are woken up at 4:45 in the morning from your tents. You're going to crawl on your chest 250 yards up a hill that is covered in boulders and we have a lot of thorny shrubs there just to get to breakfast, right? And that's where the day begins. That's it.
That's nice.
That's where the people sit there. You start to have these dialogues with yourself like, why am I doing this?
It's called
Why
Zen.
am I doing this?
That's Zen.
Yes. It's very zenful. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
You sit there and you're like, I can put myself through another year of this crap. Or I can just raise my hand, say, I'm done. Go get what we call a job in the IDF. They're called jobniks. These are the POGs is the term in the U.S. military anyways, person other than combat or person other than grunt, sorry. And a jobnik is whatever the job is. It's a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, non-combat. You're home every weekend. You know, it's a beautiful thing. And so a lot of people right away, you know, they don't even want to venture into this exploration with themselves of like, well, why don't I just try it? Let me just do it. This guy next to me is doing it. Why don't I do it? A lot of people right away, they feel that first bit of pain, of discomfort, of uncertainty, and they ring the bell. They're like, not for me, right? And a lot of times, those core internal attributes, it's who you are. So yes, there's a lot of things that you can develop, but a lot of times, you know, you kind of you got to have this core inside you. And warriors can be developed. Many times they're naturally born, not from the aspect of they have this, whatever this warrior definition is inside, because you know what? We see it in everyday life. You see every day stories all around the world of really bad things that happen, from active shooting attacks and terror attacks and crime. And you see the regular man or woman who just want to, you know, I don't know, do their secretary job, their accounting job, I don't know what they do in life, you know, be a housewife or be a father. And they're the ones that are there confronting evil, and they jump in action with no hesitation.
Right.
And these are not warriors by definition of a career path, a training, a qualification, or what have you, right? Yeah. So internally, I think that everybody has the capacity in them, because quite frankly, if we go back to the beginning of time, if you were not a warrior, you were done. If you couldn't go out and hunt and fight, you know, you were done. So these were our
you had no skills to survive.
Absolutely.
But to what you're saying, like a lot of people, I mean, I think it's amazing what you're saying here right now, because I think people need to have their ears really turned on right now. In my humble opinion, seeing so many people in the last 10 plus years now, I say 10 plus years because we evolve and we change, but there's a lot of weak-minded people that are literally like they allow themselves to be overcome. They allow themselves to be defeated.
No ability to survive.
And they have no ability to survive. Yes, I mean, literally, there's a gentleman.
You know what it is? It's because of convenience. Well, we have such 100%. Comfort and convenience.
That's one of the issues.
Yeah, there's a gentleman that I'll give an example. We just hired this guy. He just started with us on Monday. Put him into the training. After he's done his training, we put him into the field. After a day of being in the field, by the way, just to start it off, he wants to be with all his fibers a police officer. That's what his goal is.
Sure.
After being on his feet for a couple of shifts, he's done. He resigns today. And why does he resign? Because he wants to be in something that sits down. Okay? This is the person that wants to be a cop. Yeah. And I tell you this because this is what I'm talking about. When some people are going to listen to this and be like, well, I don't understand. He wants to sit down. You're weak, man. You're weak. And I mean, this is the thing they have to understand. Like, your mind is not, we're not just talking about the levels of security, but everything in life, you know, you only can get challenged and truly defined by going through difficult roads. If everything is easy, how do you grow?
When did people get allergic to hard work?
That's a good question. I mean? When did they get allergic?
Hey, listen, look at where our world is today, right? We have about, 10, maybe 15 years ago, this whole notion of the participation award. Everybody gets an award.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Equality of outcome, right? Yeah. Not equality of opportunity, equality of outcome.
Not a soccer tournament, a soccer festival.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So it's gotten to the point where a lot of people internally, sure, listen, we're not cavemen anymore. We don't have to go out there and fight dinosaurs to live.
That's right.
I understand the conveniences. It's great, you know?
That's a win. That's a win.
Okay, that's a win. Good. So
no saber-toothed tigers.
Yeah.
A lot of the threats that have existed that have forced every human to be a warrior don't exist anymore. Okay, no problem. But now society has taken that, and all kinds of fringe groups out there and mentalities that have taken it and have really waged the war on let's be lazy. Let's not think for ourselves anymore. Everybody's an equal, no matter what, and that's where we're at as a society right now. Right. So you know, it's scary and it's very difficult to weed through that and to I think all of us have kids, and this is my biggest fear now. I look at my kids. I look at what society put me through as well. You know, the great things that were around me that forced me to stay on track with important values in life. A lot of those aren't there anymore. A lot of them are distorted. A lot of the values today, I mean, you look at who who's being propped up as role models today for kids. It's really scary.
Yeah, it's
you know,
true.
and that's where we're at. So I don't know, but you're 1,000% right.
I mean, nonsense with a jingle behind it is enough to let's erect this individual because of their artistic ability to express themselves in it. But if you really pay attention to what they're about,
yes,
you would never want them to be across, the table of your kids or your,
1,000%.
Yeah,
1,000%.
Yeah,
So
I think what we value has just been a little warped as well.
I agree entirely. I agree entirely. Absolutely. There's, it is true that our grandparents had to walk 100 miles barefoot, just to get to the market. Today, your Uber guy comes to you in a car to get you your education, to get you your workout, to get you your I don't know what, right?
Yeah.
So this is the conditioning of life these days, and it's tough. That said, we can get lost in the sea of society if we stick on a micro level to the individuals, right? People have to have sight of what they want in life and how they want to be, and a lot of times we have to have our bells rung to understand, what's out there and what we need to do.
So how is that? Like you're talking about the mentality. What mentality? What does it take then? Okay, because you've put yourself through some difficult environments. You've helped entire special forces around the world prepare mentally for these different and difficult environments. These are things that like the average person does not sign up for.
Yes.
Okay, there's maybe a special moment. There's something whether it's their nature, for whatever reason, these protectors find each other, and you guys try to equip and fashion yourself to be ready for the worst of anything. What type of what does that take? What's the mentality that you guys all suffer from? Is that one way of saying it? Yeah.
I think that's a good question. I think maybe an easier way to answer that is to reverse engineer it and say, what's the common thread that you see among all these people? Because they can come from policing, they can come from the military, they can come from the security field, they can come from, a regular person who has had a tragic and horrifically scary situation. And then you put, you see the core where they all connect. They all have these common attributes to them. A lot of it, I think, is number one, the ability to adapt. There's the ability to not be afraid, because we'd be lying to ourselves if we said we don't get scared, right? That's not possible. If you're a human, you're going to feel all emotions, right? And fear is one of them. But it's the ability to have values that you fight for, and to stick to those values, to be congruent with, the path you walk in life versus the outlook that you have and what you believe in life. And the ability to challenge yourself. That's a big thing that's missing. Many people, and even if we look at the professions out there, military, policing, security, everything is about, to the biggest part, it becomes this like clubhouse of everybody patting each other on the back and having to find this comfort of, we're badass and we know what we're doing and we're doing the right thing because we all do it, right? Nobody wants to challenge themselves.
No, I know. We're not like the weak, because it's all relative, right? You compare by the other, so you tell yourself that you're better than you are and all that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So
an affirmation circle. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah. It really takes, for lack of a better term, I'll say kind of a special person, a special personality to sit there and challenge yourself every day. And you hit the nail on the head, right? If you are not challenged, you are not growing. You're not evolving. You're not discovering. You're not learning new things. You're not doing anything that's required in life to be the top. And the top is to you. Everybody reaches different levels of top.
Personal growth.
100%.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the profession, the professional aspect of it, as an operator, as an officer, as an instructor, as a commander, as a whatever in that capacity, especially when you take on a responsibility, your responsibility is to the people who depend on your oath, right? It's not to you and your opinions. It's not to your teammates. It is to your teammates, because you have to be there for each other, right? Otherwise, everything falls apart. That's why teamwork is one of the top things that any special operations unit around the world look for during selection. There is your ability to not give up, which means challenge yourself, and then it's teamwork. those are the two most important things.
Yeah.
Those are the two ingredients, top of the list of when you're looking for a special operator to, start them on that journey. That's what we look for.
Tenacity and teamwork, essentially. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And so you owe it to yourself to be challenged and to challenge yourself and to challenge the other professionals around you, because that's the only way that you can really ensure that your armor has no cracks in it.
Yes.
When you sit there and you decide what I know, what I do is the best that there is, that's just your opinion. That's untested. You have made your whole world that one factor, and that one factor, you might think that you're a shark in the ocean. Really, you're just a guppy in a big puddle, right? And you don't see it that way. And that one factor could be just a tiny little portion, and then you've got what you don't know, which is what you're exposed and where your weaknesses are.
Yes.
And the enemies out there, no matter what they are, if we're talking about terrorist criminals or if we're talking about the challenges that life throws at you, they don't need your strengths. They run from your strengths. All they need is that tiny little weakness of yours that's exposed. That's how they win. Right. So
this is why you can't be self-infatuated. You can't be a self-erected guru. Once you start saying like, I know this, then you're not a student anymore of life, right? It's just you being the source. I am the source, providing to those who need. But
yes.
man, that's not true. That's not true. I mean, that if anything, I think that's when someone hits a real dangerous point. Where you have incredible knowledge and experience, but now you're starting to enjoy the attention of that. Okay, and it takes a very humble person. We're big on humility and what humility gives you, because it reminds you, at no matter how high you've gotten, there's always something else to ascend to, something else that will draw on something that you've never thought you're capable of. But you can only do it not with your chest out, it's with your head down. Mm-hmm. Right?
I agree with that. I don't think that there's anything wrong at all with being proud of what you've done in life, of
Absolutely.
what you've accomplished.
Yes.
Let it shine. Go ahead, flaunt it, show it. That can motivate others. That can encourage others to go on that same path. That can, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a matter of the attitude and the purpose behind that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I have just, I come from the tactical world in Israel, Canada, the United States. You take tactics, you take firearms, you take hand-to-hand combat, defensive tactics, whatever you want to call it. These are three cliques, three communities that are just so full of nonsense. Mm-hmm. One of the highest purposes, and you go through so much to get to there, and there is just so much more. Protect what we think we know versus let's actually challenge and get challenged. Let's actually, you go on social media and you look at everybody, right? Some martial artists will post a video of another martial artist and they just go to town spitting inside and out this nonsense, and it'll never work and it'll blah blah. Same thing with, God forbid, the firearms community. God forbid you tell them that this one technique that today is what everybody does has a fault in it, right? Doesn't mean it won't work, but understand it has a fault. Oh, you're done, right? The tactical world, whole different. We're not going to get into that, right? But it is just, it's pathetic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's everybody starts to get propped up on these false platforms of confidence.
Yes.
Right? You haven't elevated. You have just had all of your own people in your own circle tell you the things that all of you know and all of you live by, and that's what makes you feel like you're so great and mighty, right?
Yeah.
Go get that challenge, see where it stands.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that goes on, and
I mean, if you look at it in the right way, whatever if it is challenged and it exposes those little things, as you said, to the firearm community, for example, you should be happy that it did, right? If you really look at it, you should embrace it, that this is something now that has been brought to light. We had a blind spot for it. We gauge what we thought we were capable of, or how effective it is. You should say, no, this is how you grab the gun. It should be like, okay, I never considered that now. Because if you have an adaptive, as you said, which is the number one trait for someone coming in, if you have an adaptive mindset, it's all for the better.
Yes.
Right. Whatever comes down the pipe, you're like, okay, even better. The empty cup, the empty cup, the empty cup.
Yeah.
As much as you know, there's so much more to know. Right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of knowing and learning, just because of time as well, I want to just have you.
We got to do this again, by the way.
Yeah, we do. There's
Yeah.
just
Pleasure.
This is going to be chapter 2s and 3s, but what I want to do is I want you to elaborate and speak on, because you do a lot of instruction.
Yes.
You do a lot of teaching.
Yes.
And I also know that you are, and I want to make sure that there's a plug in here for you, that you are putting together an executive protection 5-day course in the very near future that's coming around. Why don't you just go into just what you teach? Because I think it's important that people understand just how deep your instructing sessions go, and what you can go over with them, and how you can help someone be a better version of themselves, and also especially getting into the protectors industry.
Certainly. So just to very quickly, just throw something in, I don't do executive protection. I do close protection.
Okay.
I'll define that momentarily.
Hold on.
Define it momentarily.
American friends.
Let me first.
Shots fired.
Let me first go to the latter part of your question.
That's good.
I love to be challenged, and I'll challenge everybody.
Yes.
Right? That's the game. Okay. I'm very fortunate to have been put on the path I've been put on in life. Right. There's a lot of incredible people out in my industry. Hand-to-hand guys, firearms guys, tactical guys, special operations guys, police, military, you name it. I mean, guys that I look up to, guys that I love to listen to, that I learn from, that I work with. I am really, really blessed that I've had the privilege of being Israeli, Canadian, and American. I served in Israel, Canada, and the U.S. I've been qualified in the methodologies of Israel, Canada, the U.S. I've cross-trained with tons of units, right? One of my tasking in the IDF alone, I was the commander of our International Joint Forces Training Mission Section. And after 9/11 in 2003, when the global war on terror was created, and the U.S. led the charge into Afghanistan and Iraq, we have had an official, formal element in the IDF of all the units involved, all the allied nations, special forces units that would come to us to learn our methodologies of how it was that we have been coexisting with this threat that they were now only getting acquainted with, and they now had to go into that threat's territory and that threat's backyard and start to fight with.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I was in charge of that section. I put together those programs, and I ran all that training. I've worked with, it was just one of the greatest experiences of my life.
Yeah.
Every special unit out there, I've had the chance to train with, to sit there and collaborate with them, and it was just incredible. So I come from a very diverse background, as far as geography, as far as the methodologies and objectives of each one of those geographies. With that as well, I have a military background, I have a law enforcement background, I have a security background, I have a tactical background, a firearms background, a hand-to-hand background. I look back today, and there's times where I sit there and I look at my CV when I add things to it, and I'm like, I'm just blessed. I'm really blessed for myself, for what it means to me, and for what I do, that I have this depth of range to be able to dig into and to be part of all these communities.
Yeah, all these experiences. Yeah.
The thing with me, again, has always been about perfection, meaning to be doing the right thing, not to be right. I had a big time in my life where it was about being right.
I love it.
That's just where I think a lot of us inherently, we have an ego. Again, nothing wrong with that. Just a matter of how you use it and why you use it.
Right.
Right. But we all fight to be right. And I've done that in so many aspects of my life, forget my professional life as well, right? I mean, the growth happens when you grow personally, you grow professionally. You grow professionally, you grow personally, right? You grow as a husband, you grow as a father, you grow as a son, as a sibling, as a friend, as a you name it, right? That's the beauty of everything that we get to do in life. But I have always been interested in, am I actually doing the right thing? What we do in Israel is vastly different from the rest of the world. The rest of the world, and I don't say this in any belittling way, does what the U.S. does. And that is kudos to the U.S. because they lead the charge. Everybody does their tactics. I had units that would come to me from all over the world in Israel. And when they would get off the plane, you would think it was an American unit. The beards and the muscles and the exact same gear and the same talk and the same, tactics. And then, when you start to learn about them, well, yeah, the Americans came and trained us, and that's what we developed from, right? And so
it took on the full persona, and
1,000%, and that's fine. That's what that world is, and that's great.
They're the leader. They are big brother to everybody.
They've been around longest in this industry, and it's awesome. In Israel, we do our own thing. And it's because we are our own people with our own history, 4,000 years of being targets. Modern day, we're at just over 70 years now of everybody trying to exterminate us. The threats that we face are very, very unique. It's suicidal, ideological terrorism. It's religion-based, one of the strongest fibers of every human. This is a cause of beyond life, not just as physical. So when you try to budge somebody on a belief system, that's a very dangerous thing to do, right? Yes. And this is the cultural friction that we have, right? Mm-hmm. If you backtrack and you look at all the modalities of attack of modern day terrorism with this particular threat, I'm not talking about the IRA or the Quebec Liberation Front of back then. I'm talking about the Islamic jihadist terrorist threat that the whole world has been contending with since 9/11. You look at all the modalities of attack. The type of active attacks, whether it was active shootings, today it's active stabbings, suicide bombings, VBEDS, vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices, vehicular ramming attacks. You look at all of these, they all start in Israel. It's born there. It's born with all of our enemies who then wage it against us. And then all of a sudden, a couple of years later, you start to see, attacks that go on by this ideological threat type in different continents around the world, different countries, and it's those modalities. And we've already been contending with them for a long time, right?
Wow, okay.
So
is that why you said active stabbing?
So we 100%. So we had our active shooting attacks in Israel. Very quick, very violent. You got to remember, these are terrorists who have a purpose. That's not a mentally ill purpose. It's not I've been bullied at the school and I'm going to go and get my revenge out and shoot a couple people and throw the gun down and wait for the police to come or kill themselves. It is really fast, very intense, very violent, hit and run type of operations. Many dynamics are where we have multiple terrorists, where we have terrorists that'll come in with suicide bomb belts. They'll have grenades. They'll have their guns. When they run out of the bullets, the grenades come out, and then they run at the responders with bomb belts on. Right. So it's this very intense and very diverse modalities all put into one, and you don't have a pause. You don't have a break with anything. The second that one modality is taken out of play, all of a sudden they've got another one that keeps them in the fight.
Yes.
And so we've had in the last 5-6 years approximately, the guiding or the predominant modality of attack that we've had have been active stabbings, right? And why? Because we put a big strain. Our security forces, our internal security service, national police, border police, the IDF, we have targeted a lot of their weaponry, their resources to attack, right? And it's very difficult for them to be able to conceal a firearm and get past a checkpoint.
Yes.
Knives, we all know.
Yeah.
Everywhere, right? And it hasn't been just the modality of attack. So the stabbings, that was the mandates that all the terror groups were calling for. If you can't get a bomb belt, a grenade, or a gun, go get a knife and go start stabbing. And so that's what would start happening. But it's also the diversity and adaptability that they started to implement to be successful. So, you're looking at a guy who's clearly from one of the Arab villages, looks very militant, looks very devout, looks like he's strong in that moment and coming to attack you, and he's dressed in attack clothes, and he looks like he's about to pull out a weapon. You know what you're dealing with. But then you have an old lady, you have an old man, you have a 12-year-old boy, right? And these are some of the profiles of the attackers that we have today.
Wow.
And so, they have this cause, they have this ideology, and they're able to recruit on all fronts. And we have, you don't know who the terrorist is, right? So, with that, right, digressed a little bit over there, just get back to your question. We got a little bit of a time constraint, but, I myself, as far as what I teach my passions, and I'm passionate about quite a few things. Everything from, use of force for the purposes of civilian law enforcement or security, right up to hostage rescue and, counter-terror operations. And I do it all. I have programs that I run on kind of both ends of the spectrums for security organizations, for police agencies. I still run a lot of the very kind of high-end counterterrorism courses for some of the big agencies, both here and in the U.S. A lot of stuff I do for different units in the RCMP and all kinds of other, things I do for different units everywhere. And so my methodology, the core thing, despite the fact that I have this diverse kind of background and platform of what I teach, I have only one objective, and that's real life.
Yes.
That's real life.
Yes.
And I've been taught things in Israel, in the US, and in Canada, which are phenomenal, and I still do and teach. I've been taught things in all three that there's a better way to do it, and
the right way, as you're saying, right way. What is the right way?
I think the right way is congruent with your objective.
Yeah.
All right. But then your objective, transpose that into externally. What are you teaching? Who are you teaching? Why are you teaching them?
Yeah.
Right. If you're teaching whoever it is, a person to survive, you got to make sure that you're teaching them the method that actually is congruent with what they're going to encounter when it's a non-cooperative attacker. When it's an attacker who's there to live out their objective to the fullest, right? Because they don't care about ego or opinion. They don't care about who does the better methodology. They just know how to attack you fast, hard, strong, and to get their objective.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting here operating on theories and opinions, this guy told me, well, this is what our unit has been doing for the last 30 years, so we know that it works, and that's what you're going off of, that might not jive, right? You might not meet the same level of congruency as your threat does, and then you're done, right?
Theories, opinions, and YouTube videos. Okay.
Which is everybody's expertise source today is YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
So Nir, how if somebody, because I mean, we do got to wrap up right now just for some elements, but what is and how can somebody get to hear the teachings of Nir? How can they find you?
I have a website, www.ct707.com, Charlie Tango 707.com. That's my personal website. I'm on Facebook under my name. I'm on LinkedIn under my name. CTOA.ca. That's the Canadian Tactical Officers Association. You can also get training and a lot of resources from us there, and you can get hold of me there as well.
Do you have anything coming up at all that we can,
I do. I'm putting together right now as you mentioned, it's a 5-day close protection certification course. I'll be running it here in the GTA. The focus is going to be on solo agent work, and we are kicking that off about mid-January. We're locking in dates right around the corner.
Okay.
But that's kind of the next immediate course that I've got going on locally here in the GTA.
Okay. And I think if you're okay with this, when you do launch it, it'd be nice for us to capture some of it and also use it as an opportunity to bring you back on again and also, go more in depth on this. Because
Sure.
I think just for a lot of people listening today, you have so much experience that we would probably need to do this a season 1, 12-episode series with
Yeah, that's what I was saying. When you said 2 or 3, I was like, man, I was thinking 11, 12.
Yeah. There's just a lot.
Yeah.
And we really do want to kind of go into that because one of the things that we talk about is development. And I just think you have so much to offer, man, with your experiences.
I'm truly humbled by that.
Yeah, part of it is to
Thank
break
you.
it down, right? The Heraclides quote, for every 100 men in battle, 10 shouldn't be there. 80 are mere targets. 9, they're the soldiers and they make the battle. But 1 is the warrior. And he'll bring them all back.
Right.
That's
Okay.
right.
You're truly a warrior.
That's right.
Okay. You
100%.
definitely.
Thank you.
And I say that because if we can help to in our little way help you find the soldiers that can help empower the 80, so that we're not just a weak society. We're not just waiting for things to happen. Byron Rogers, a good buddy of ours, talked about having good people becoming more dangerous.
Yes.
Okay.
What's needed.
I just love it. Good people becoming more dangerous.
Got to build a family, absolutely.
Yeah.
And thank you for that.
Well,
Absolutely.
thank you for coming on the show, Nir. And again, I'm sorry that we had to rush it, but I 100% want to make sure that we kind of fix on these little areas that you're talking about and really explore them.
Yeah, I have the contract for an 11-part series right here. Let me just, if you can sign, can you imagine?
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, Nir Maman. And one more time, just some plugins again. That website again is
ct707.com.
All right, guys. And anyone has any more information, they can always reach out to us as well. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute honor, and we're looking forward to having the next one coming in play.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
And by the way, if anyone does want to get more learning, cto8.com, is it?
.ca.
Yeah. You guys got to check out that portal. It's an incredible depth of information as well. And get ready for the next level.
A battle-tested network of experts and people with great experience. So
yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming down, man.
Thank you so much, guys.
It was a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Executive Protection Lifestyle Canada. Make sure to drop by next week and don't forget to subscribe.